Carl Jung didn't offer simple advice. He offered a mirror that reflects not who you pretend to be, but who you truly are beneath the mask. His work wasn't about fixing the self, it was about finding it. In a world that tells you to polish your image, Jung tells you to dive inward, to explore your wounds, your shadow, your chaos. Not as flaws to be erased, but as paths to transformation. Jung believed that self-awareness is not a luxury, it is a responsibility, that without inner work, we live as puppets of the unconscious, repeating the same patterns and calling it fate. But once we turn inward, once we begin to see ourselves honestly, we unlock a deeper truth, that the life we seek is not out there, it's within. These 9 life lessons are not motivational slogans. They are hard-won truths. They challenge, confront, and ultimately awaken. If you allow them in, they will change how you relate to pain, purpose, love, and most of all, yourself. Are you ready to meet the self that's been waiting behind the noise? Let's begin. Know thy shadow. It holds your truth. We spend much of our lives trying to become better people, more kind, more loving, more acceptable. But in doing so, we often exile parts of ourselves, the rage we were shamed for, the sadness we had to hide, the desires we feared would make us unworthy. Jung called these exiled parts the shadow, and insisted that knowing it is the beginning of true self-acknowledge. The shadow isn't just the darkness within you, it is the truth you've denied to stay safe. It holds not only your pain, but your power, not only your flaws, but your depth. And until you face it, you are not free. You are fractured, living a half-life, wearing masks, wondering why you feel hollow. To know your shadow is to stop pretending. It's to turn inward, not with shame, but with curiosity. Why do I react this way? Why do I judge others so harshly? What am I afraid I'll find if I'm honest about myself? These questions aren't comfortable, but they are essential, because once you see the shadow, you can work with it. You can integrate it. You can move beyond the illusion of goodness and into the wholeness of being real. And that is where true healing begins. Wholeness is greater than goodness. We are conditioned from birth to be good. Good students, good friends, good partners. But Jung understood something radical. Goodness alone is not the goal. Wholeness is. And wholeness requires you to embrace both light and dark, your compassion and your boundaries, your humility and your pride, your joy and your rage. Being good often means being acceptable to others. It means sacrificing truth for peace, self-expression for approval. But this kind of goodness is brittle. It cracks under pressure because it is not rooted in the full self. It's a performance, a persona. Wholeness, by contrast, is messy. It requires courage. It means embracing your contradictions without shame. It means no longer shrinking to fit into a moral ideal created by others. And when you do that, when you stop chasing perfection and start integrating your shadow, you become powerful in a different way, grounded, unshakable. Jung taught that wholeness brings peace because nothing is denied. You're no longer at war with parts of yourself. You no longer need to hide. And in that internal unity, you become someone rare, not just good on the outside, but real all the way through. Goodness seeks approval. Wholeness seeks truth. Choose truth, and you'll find yourself. Your wounds are the source of your power. We are taught to run from pain, to numb it, suppress it, hide it behind smiles and distractions. But Jung offered a truth both unsettling and profound. The wound is where the light enters. Your suffering isn't a curse, it's an initiation. Every wound you carry, rejection, betrayal, grief, loss, has the potential to become a wellspring of wisdom, not because the pain was noble, but because you survived it. You felt it, and in feeling, something inside you broke open. That opening, painful as it is, becomes sacred ground. Jung believed that what you do not transform, you will transmit. If you avoid your wounds, they become patterns. You recreate the same relationships. You sabotage your joy. You live small, afraid of being hurt again. But when you face your pain directly, when you allow yourself to grieve, to rage, to remember, you begin to reclaim your power. The wound stops defining you and starts refining you. Many of the world's healers, artists, and visionaries are people who chose to walk through their pain rather than around it. They turned their wounds into insight, their scars into strength. And you can do the same. Your wounds do not make you broken. They make you deep. And in that depth, your truest self is waiting. You are not just your persona. We all wear masks. The polite one, the achiever, the loyal friend, the helper. These identities, collectively known as the persona, help us navigate society. They are how we adapt, how we belong. But Carl Jung reminds us, the persona is not the self. It is only a fragment, a costume stitched from expectations and survival instincts. The danger lies in mistaking the mask for your identity. You become so entangled in the performance that you forget who you are when no one's watching. You start living for applause instead of alignment. You feel hollow, disconnected, not because you're doing something wrong, but because you've abandoned what is real for what is accepted. The persona is not evil. It has a purpose, but it must be transparent, not fixed. It should serve the soul, not replace it. To reclaim your true self, you must dare to step behind the mask. Ask yourself, who am I when I'm not being liked? What do I believe when I'm not trying to belong? What do I feel when I'm not performing emotional correctness? These questions can unsettle you, but they are the beginning of self-realization, because beneath the persona lies the authentic self, raw, flawed, whole. And meeting that self is the beginning of real freedom. Individuation is the path to inner freedom. Individuation is the path to inner freedom. Jung didn't believe the goal of life was to become perfect. He believed the goal was to become whole. And this journey, this integration of all aspects of the self, is what he called individuation. It is the soul's quiet rebellion against conformity, the sacred process of becoming who you truly are beneath the noise. Individuation is not about self-improvement. It is about self-reclamation. It asks you to turn inward, to face your shadow, your wounds, your desires, and your truth, not to judge them, but to welcome them as parts of the same whole. This process is not comfortable. You will lose people. You will question everything. You will be tempted to return to the familiar roles that once earned you love, but stay with the discomfort, because every layer you shed brings you closer to the truth. You are not here to be someone's version of enough. You are here to become the full spectrum of who you are. Darkness and light, sorrow and joy, chaos and clarity. And when you stop seeking validation and begin living from your own inner compass, something miraculous happens. You become free, not externally, but internally, and that freedom is unshakable. What you resist will persist. We've been taught to fight what we don't like, push down the fear, ignore the anger, pretend the pain doesn't exist. But Jung warned us, what you resist doesn't disappear, it grows. The more you push it away, the more power it gains in the dark corners of your psyche. Resistance is not strength, it's avoidance dressed as control. And every time you repress an emotion, you fuel its return. Unprocessed grief becomes numbness. Unacknowledged anger becomes resentment. The truth you won't face becomes the pattern you keep repeating. You can only truly heal what you're willing to feel. Jung believed the unconscious demands to be heard, and when it is ignored, it speaks through symptoms, breakdowns, projections. Life itself becomes the mirror of your resistance. You attract the very people, situations, and challenges that force you to confront what you refused to see. So the invitation is this: stop running, pause, turn toward the discomfort, and ask it what it wants to teach you. Let the sadness speak. Let the fear reveal its root. Let the rage guide you to the boundary that was never honored. This is not weakness, it is deep strength, because only in surrendering to what is real can you transform it. And in that surrender, resistance dissolves and presence begins. Dreams are the language of the soul. Modern life worships the rational. Logic, productivity, clarity, we're told these are the only trustworthy compasses. But Carl Jung taught that beyond our conscious mind lies a deeper voice, one that speaks not in words, but in symbols. That voice speaks through dreams. Dreams are not random, they are revelations. They are the soul's way of communicating what the conscious mind refuses to see. Jung believed dreams reveal the truths we bury, the desires we suppress, and the guidance we ignore. In the dream world, your shadow speaks plainly. Your inner child cries out. Your unlived life shows up disguised as a stranger, a storm, a falling bridge. Most people dismiss their dreams. Just nonsense, they say. But that's because we've forgotten how to listen. A dream isn't meant to be taken literally. It's meant to be interpreted like a myth, decoded like a poem. It's the unconscious trying to wake you up. When you begin to track your dreams, not just what happened, but how it felt, you start to see patterns. Symbols return, warnings repeat, longings become clear, and over time your inner world begins to feel less like chaos and more like a dialogue. Dreams remind you, your soul is always speaking. The question is, are you listening? True love begins with inner integration. We search for love in others, in their presence, in their affirmation, in their eyes. But Jung understood that before love can be shared, it must be integrated within. You cannot offer what you haven't first given yourself. When you reject your shadow, you unconsciously expect your partner to carry it. You expect them to validate the parts you haven't accepted, to soothe the wounds you haven't healed, to complete what you believe is missing. But this isn't love. It's dependency. It's projection wrapped in romance. True love begins when you stop asking someone else to do the inner work for you. When you meet your fear instead of handing it to your partner. When you hold your sadness instead of expecting someone else to save you from it. When you integrate your own contradictions, your gentleness and your fire, your need for connection and your need for solitude. Then, and only then, can you love freely. Not from lack, but from overflow. Not from fear, but from presence. Integration makes you whole. And wholeness attracts wholeness. Not perfection, and in that space, love becomes sacred. Not because it saves you, but because it mirrors the self you've already chosen to love. Meaning, not comfort, is the root of fulfillment. Comfort is easy to chase. It seduces with its promise of security, quiet routines, easy choices, numbed feelings. But Jung warned, fulfillment doesn't come from ease, it comes from meaning. And meaning often asks you to leave the safe harbor. To live meaningfully is to live consciously. It means choosing discomfort when truth demands it. It means walking into the unknown, trusting that your inner compass is more reliable than external validation. It means sacrificing the familiar for the authentic. This path isn't glamorous. Meaning will ask you to feel more, not less. It will expose your wounds. It will test your resilience. But it will also anchor you, because meaning gives your pain purpose. It turns suffering into depth. It transforms loneliness into self-discovery. Jung believed that when people lose meaning, they lose themselves. They may look fine on the outside, but inside, there's a quiet desperation. A hunger the world cannot feed. Only the soul can answer that hunger. So if you find yourself at a crossroads, ask not, what will make me comfortable? Ask, what will make me real? Comfort numbs, meaning awakens. Choose awakening.